Learning is ever in the freshness of its youth, even for the old. Aeschylus. It is Sunday, September 29th, 2013, and I am engaged in my alternative spiritual practice of protesting against Unitarian Universalist injustices and abuses outside of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. Got a bunch of picket signs here, and we got some chalk slogans on the sidewalk. And unfortunately, Unitarian Universalists are very slow learners. In fact, I've been doing this protest for over 15 years now, and they don't seem to have learned a thing from it. But today, September 29th, happens to be the 16-month anniversary, as it were, Stikeman Elliott, barristers and solicitors litigation lawyer, Maitre Marc-Andre Coulombe, drafting a arrogant and aggressive cease and desist demand letter that I later received by email on June 1st of 2012, and then was served the actual paper document some days later at the bailiff's office, because I went to collect it. But no, in that hubristic and in many ways hilarious cease and desist demand letter, Maitre Marc-Andre Coulombe, on behalf of the Unitarian Universalist Association, accuses me of the archaic crime of blasphemous libel on the basis, and this is pretty much an exact quote from the letter, he is alleging, and thus the UUA is alleging, that I have made, and here comes the exact quote, unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. So there it is. Basically, he went on to say that this was defamatory to the extent that it amounted to blasphemous libel, and he cited the code from the Canadian Criminal Code and so on. So yeah. Now, soon after receiving that, I wrote back to Maitre Coulombe and explained to him that I was not able to find any blog posts that made unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engaged in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. And could he please provide the titles of these blog posts, provide the URL, some way of identifying these blog posts, which of course they wanted me to take down, delete the memory hole, as it were. Please identify them so I can go look at them and see whether they actually do make unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia or rape, or not. And above and beyond that, even if they did, whether or not that actually amounted to the archaic crime of blasphemous libel. Well, being the arrogant and aggressive litigation lawyer that Maitre Marc-Andre Coulombe seems to be, in my opinion, which is based on how he has behaved towards me, he wrote back and said that it was that my claim not to be able to find the aforementioned blog post that matched his description was not credible. He basically said that I was lying, that I knew perfectly well where these blog posts were. So I had to write back to Maitre Coulombe and inform him that, well, no, I do know, where I've made a few blog posts about Unitarian Universalists who have in fact engaged in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. I want you to identify which of these blog posts you consider to be unfounded and vicious, and which amount to the archaic crime of blasphemous libel. Well, guess what? It is now 16 months later since Maitre Coulombe has drafted that arrogant and aggressive legal letter, falsely accusing me of the crime of blasphemous libel on the unfounded basis that I've made unfounded and vicious allegations, blah, blah, blah. And this guy's a slow learner, man. I mean, I made it clear to him that, you know, he should retract and apologize, and we could put this behind us, you know, more or less, if he did. But no, you know, I actually have not heard from Maitre Coulombe in more than 15 months. I mean, that second letter that he sent to me saying that I know perfectly well where these blog posts are was the last time I ever heard from Maitre Coulombe. And if we bring it back to the UUA leaders who are behind this Lance Armstrong style legal bullying, well, they're incredibly slow learners too, because they got the same message that I sent to Maitre Coulombe. I basically said that your attempt to misuse and abuse the Canadian Criminal Code to pervert justice by falsely accusing me of making unfounded and vicious allegations about Unitarian Universalist ministers, you know, which is basically Lance Armstrong style legal bullying, you know, you need to formally withdraw this, and you need to apologize to me for making this false accusation. Well, you know, 16 months later or so, certainly more than 15 months later, I have yet to hear so much as a peep out of the Unitarian Universalist Association leaders responsible. They've done their very, very best to totally ignore all of my electronic communications with them about this, and saying, hey, come on, you know, you really do have to take this back and apologize. But no, they're slow learners. So depending on how we want to interpret this sign back here, you know, learning is ever in the freshness of its youth, even for the old. Now, I suppose this could be interpreted as meaning that you know, people like Reverend Peter Morales, who's, you know, 50 something, maybe 60 something now. Yeah, basically he's he's still in the freshness of his youth in terms of learning about Unitarian Universalist clergy misconduct, if nothing else. You know, it's just ludicrous that 16 months after having accused me of the crime of blasphemous libel for blogging about a few Unitarian Universalist pedophiles and rapists, UUA President Peter Morales has not yet learned that what he did was immoral, unethical, borderline criminal. Because when you make a false allegation about a crime, this becomes a crime itself if and when you report it to the police or attempt to prosecute it. So yeah, this is right on the edges of a criminal act by the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, who falsely accused me of the archaic crime of blasphemous libel on the false basis that I had made unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association have in fact, well no, they're saying it's false, I'm saying it isn't. But yeah, it's just bullshit basically what they're saying. Not only have Unitarian Universalist ministers engaged in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape, but so have Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teachers, ordinary Unitarian Universalist lay people, and I'm talking about people who've actually been, you know, charged, tried, and convicted. You know, I'm not talking about the Unitarian Universalists who have engaged in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape and who have not faced justice, who, for whatever reason, were never charged, or if they were charged, they somehow, you know, got off. You know, excuse me, that pun was not intended, but anyhow, no, it's you know, the learning of this church, the Unitarian Church of Montreal, the Unitarian Universalist Association in Boston, is still in the freshness of its youth on this matter. On that note, we will wind up this video at just under 10 minutes.